afternoon, evening, and morning. This is Big Guy DIY. Today, I'm not fixing anything. I am going to create for once, because I like to create things once in a while when I have the time to. So the idea I have here, let me turn around. I have this lonely little fire pit. And with the kids growing up, it worked out great. We'd all gather around, have a campfire once a week or so. But as the kids have grown up, their taste has matured, as they say. And so the one thing I wanted to do was to add poles into the ground. As you can see, I have this rope laid out. 6 corners, and I wanted to put these poles into the ground, and then I can dangle, those decorative lights that you would use outside, similar to what you have here. But I was going to use a different kind of bulb. So as I got thinking about this, of course I can never make something that easy. I always have to make it more complicated. My thought was, do I just bury these poles in the ground, or do I put in some sonic tubes and fill them up with cement, and then in the cement I put in, say, a PVC pipe small enough for the poles to go into, and then off season I pull the pipes out, take the lights down, put them away for the winter. But the problem with that was the cement being in the ground is a permanent thing. I didn't want them to be permanent. I wanted to be able to take them and put them away for the winter, and not have anything in the ground itself. So my next thought was, what if I just grab some, those large decorative pots you use for flowers that you put on your deck. I could fill those up with cement or stone. Again, put in a plastic tube, and then the pipe that would support the lights would go into that. But that kind of adds to the price, and I'm trying to do this at a budget. So then my wife came up with a brilliant idea. Why don't you use tree stumps or tree trunks? See what I got here. I got a trailer full of maple tree trunks. I have a shed with a whole bunch of white oak tree trunks. I have cherry tree trunks. And on the back side of my house, or my shed, I have elm tree trunks. And the more I thought about it, I think that's a brilliant idea, is using these elm, or, see, what are these? These are maple tree trunks. Now I split wood on a regular basis because I burn it. So I tend to have a lot of this around the house because I pre-cut all my trees before I bring them home, and then spend the next several days of splitting this stuff. So I've decided I'm going to use the elm, because elm doesn't burn that well. It's hard to split in comparison to, say, white oak or even maple. For anyone out there, I would just use what you have available, whether it's pine. So you got yellow pine, regular pine, hemlock is another one. I mean, these are trees that are available around my area that I tend to get at. So I'm going to grab a cart and grab the elm bottoms and show you what we're going to do next. night crawlers for those who like to fish. But I'm gonna let them go back to the ground. One thing that's important is when your tree trunks are not sitting on the side, but say sitting, you know, the cut part down onto the ground will naturally start growing into, and vice versa, into the tree trunk. Keep this in mind, because when the pole goes in here, obviously this part here is going to be on the ground. We want to avoid this from happening, so I'm going to show you what to do to avoid that. So here are my 6 trunks. As you can see, I did a pretty good job of cutting those and keeping the same length. So drilling these, there are a huge variety of drill bits you could use to drill into wood. And let me show you some of the variety. A few of the types of drill bits you can use to drill in wood, but what is the difference between them? What's the difference between a wood drill bit and a metal drill bit? A metal drill bit has this type of tip, and the bit can be made of, have a carbide tip to it. It could have a titanium tip to it, but this is typically your metal drill bit for drilling into steel, aluminum, stainless steel. You can use it for wood, which I tend to do a lot. It doesn't give you a clean cut into the wood, but it will work. This is another style drill bit. Here, this one is adjustable for the amount of width I want to remove. I think this one goes up to like 3/4 of an inch. But it doesn't go in too deep into the wood. This is for more like shallow holes where you're going through 2 or 3 inches of wood, especially construction wood. It won't work too well with wet wood. And you can see here the tip. See how it's spiral? Then there's this old style. And this actually still works today. You will still see people using this style drill. It uses a special end to go inside this chuck. And then you can see how this one is specifically for wood. Again, you have that spiral tip on there to dig in wood. This is very time consuming because you got to sit there and crank that thing round and round and round to make it work. My father has one of these. I received this from my neighbor who passed away. And then you can buy this. This is specifically for wood. It's not for metal. And I bought this one today because it is, I think, 14 inches long. Here's the specs on it, 3/4 inch. And that's the price for one bit. I don't know why my camera's not focusing. That's the price for one bit. 3/4 inch length. It doesn't tell me. But I'm guessing 14 inches. Let's see, 8. Nope, 16, 18 inches. So I'm going to be able to go into 18 inches into the wood. Another wood bit you'll see out there is called a paddle bit or speed drill bit. And that is very similar to this. It has two flat sides, and then it has a sharp edge here plus a sharp tip. It doesn't have the spiral tip. It doesn't have the spiral tip, but it has two flat sides. Those work all right for, again, dry wood, the speed bit, but I would not use it on wet wood, especially this. This has been sitting outside for 2 years now. So that's your drill bits and what I'm going to be using for drilling into the tree trunk. You're also going to need a very good drill, a powerful one. I think this one's a 1 horsepower drill. I don't know exactly, or 3/4 horsepower, but this drill is variable speed. I have the option of regular drill or hammer drill, which means I can drill into cement with this. You're going to need a lot of torque in order to drill into a tree trunk. How I'm going to hold these lights. I'm going to take this eyelet here. We're going to drill through the pipe. This will be bolted in like so. And the eye, I'm just going to twist it. I'm not going to bend it out, but twist it off to the side so the wiring from the lights can sit right inside. The poles will be capped off with this. That'll twist right on, and that way I don't have to worry about water going inside and collecting in there inside the pole and just making it more of a mess. We have 6 galvanized 10-foot poles. I am not going to use all 10 feet because 10 feet's a bit too high. I'm going to cut them down to approximately 9 feet in length. And one end will be flat for the cap. The other end, I'm going to put it on an angle, 45-degree angle, so it kind of spikes into the trunk. Now the question is, where would I drill the trunk to place this in? And I thought about that. Usually that would be the obvious answer, drill right in the center and place it right in there. But just seeing a plain trunk like this gets kind of plain. So my other option was, or idea, is to drill it off center. And there's 2 reasons why. I don't know the weight of the lights once they're hanging off these poles. When these poles are 8 feet up in the air, 9 feet up in the air, there's something called leverage. The higher the pole is, the easier the whole thing can be pulled over from the weight of the lights. The lights aren't that heavy, the wiring is not that heavy physically. They're Christmas lights, which I'll show you later. But they have a large bulb on it, just like a little bigger than a golf ball bulb. But it's 100 feet of it. So 100 feet of wire adds up in weight. So if the pole's too high, it can pull the whole thing over, which we want to avoid, especially like on a windy day. So by off-centering the hole, by putting my hole off-center, the pole cannot be pulled this way. So I'm using that against leverage. The other thing is, I could put a potted plant right here or something decorative right on the stump right here. So that's the other reason for having it off-centered. So let me drill these stumps out, get them going. The chuck on this drill, by the way, this is a 1/2-inch chuck, so it allows it to take a 1/2-inch shank. 16 inches. The full length of the drill bit is 12 inches. There we go. All 6 holes done. The weight of these stumps, my guesstimation, I'm probably looking at around 300 pounds, because pulling this cart or trying to guide this cart downhill, I almost got knocked over pretty well. So I know this is around 300 pounds at least, because to shove me around, you got to be equal to my weight or heavier. Next, we're going to cut our poles. This is called a chop saw. Other things you could use, you can also use a hacksaw. So you don't necessarily have to have any high-end equipment. I'm just using a chop saw because I have it. Whenever you use a chop saw, you see the sharp edge that it leaves behind right here? If you can see it now. You need to take a file that off. This will cut your hand open pretty good. We're going to cut the pipe at a 45-degree angle, and that's the part of the pipe that will be hammered into the log. These, by the way, are threaded. Half-inch galvanized cap. Now, remember I was talking about different types of drill bits earlier? Well, here I have to use a metal drill bit. And it's to install these eyelets. So on these eyelets, the first nut comes with the eyelet, with the purchase of the eyelet. The second nut is what they call a nylock nut. If you look in the end here, You can see the plastic insert. What that does is that locks the nut on so it'll never loosen up. So with the purchase of this, I also purchased 6 of these. Now drill bit, you want the size of the hole to be just a little pinch larger than the eyelet. So 3/16 for this. And this is, here we go. This is a metal drill bit. Use the drill metal. I'm using the saw just as a stand. Normally I put this on a drill press, but the pipes are just too long. So when a metal drill bit cuts into any kind of metal, when it comes out, there's always pieces of metal that it gets pushed out. You can kind of see it here. So I'm just following that off. So there's no sharp edges on here. Put on your first nut. All the way to the end. Now you want the open end up. Remember, we're going to twist this so the wire can drop in here, but this will still be in a circle form. So when you tighten this up, be sure your cut is upward. Grab half the circle with a pair of vise or something. So it still looks like it's closed, but there you go. That way the wire will not come out on windy days. I'm going to grind this end down because we don't need it sticking out. That's what I mean by the shavings sticking out after you drill. There you go. All 6 done. So let's put them into the trunks. Right at 9 feet, which is where I want it. So when I can spread these out farther, I can have a smoother droop between each pole. So, time for a water break. It's humid as hell out here. I'm dying. We have all 6 poles done. So the distance with this rope around the fireplace is 50 feet. And the chairs are just there to kind of give an idea how close the lights are. And I don't like it like that. That's why I bought 100 feet, so I can come out a lot further on this. So let me get the base put on, and I'll show you what I was talking about earlier in the video regarding what to put down so the stump does not get stuck to the grass and the dirt and everything like I showed you earlier, scraping the bottom of the bunk of the trunk. There you go. These are cement patio, I don't want to call them blocks or bricks, but they're about 16-inch in diameter. And I just laid those around. This is what the trunk will sit on. So come winter time, I can just remove the trunk, or move the trunk someplace and not worry about getting stuck to the ground with these. So I'll give you an idea how big they are. That's a size 12 shoe. So it's a good size. So let me put them in place. And there we go. These things are heavy, these stumps. If your pole is not straight, just put your foot right here on the stump and just bend the pole in the shape that you need. You can see this pole here slightly bent because of the clothesline. I have to take the clothesline down. But everything else, I just bent it towards straight up. So next are the lights. Good morning, everyone. I want to let these sit a little, just see how they sink in. One thing I forgot to mention is the hooks here. The hooks here, you want to be sure they're facing inside the direction that you're going to be hanging the light. So the lights will be hanging inside versus going on the outside of the poles. So if your hook goes in the wrong way, just take a pipe wrench and clamp onto it, and you can just slowly turn the pipe. The other thing I forgot to mention is I had a couple options in regards to what to use for the poles. I had the option of bamboo. I had the option of, I think it was birch. I don't think it was birch because it's too soft a wood. But like the handles that you'd use for your brooms, the long, thin handles. The store had these handles that were 8 feet long, wooden handles. No ends to them, but I was thinking of using it. But then the more I thought about it, because this is going to be outside all the time. It's not something I'm going to take up and put down, take up and put down. I wanted something that can take the elements. Where I live, it can get pretty humid here, like really humid. And sometimes we can get a lot of rain. Other times we may not get any rain. That has effect on wood in general, saying that. So what I wanted to do was choose something that can take the elements overall when doing this. Also, with the galvanized posts, say you're drilling a hole in the stump and the hole is not perfectly straight, which is pretty much guaranteed. The galvanized posts, you can just grab them up high, stand on the stump a little, and you can bend it so the post will be straight up and down. So regardless of the stump being straight or not, you can at least make your post straight. So on to the next part of this little project, our lights. These I bought on Amazon. There's 100 feet. And I was looking for, there's two different types of lights. There's these lights that have the hooks, which are very light in regards to their weight. Then you got these kind of lights here with this kind of attachment. This is more of a commercial grade light. But weight-wise, they're much heavier. So if you're putting up 100 feet, that's a lot more weight versus using a thinner wire. I also looked for lights that were designed for outdoor usage. So waterproof is the word I was looking for in the description of what I was purchasing. The lastly thing I was looking for is the bulbs that are offered with the lights. There are a whole bunch of different style bulbs, and what I was looking for is if a bulb goes bad or blows out, I know they're LED bulbs, but if it goes bad, can I get that bulb locally at a store? There was one bulb I really liked a lot, and it was a small bulb that had like 5 LED lights inside of it, and the bulb was probably like the size, I'm guessing, size of a tennis ball in regards to it. And I thought that was the coolest looking thing. I thought that'd be really neat to hang. But the problem was how do you get that replacement bulb should it go bad? And it will go bad. There's no guarantees that it'll never go bad. So what I end up going with is this LED bulb here. I can get this at a local box store should this bulb ever go bad. The size of the bulb, is the same size as a golf ball. Give you an idea how big this bulb is. I think it's called a G40 in regards to its size. So these are the bulbs I'll be using. When you buy these lines, these light lines or light strings, they'll tell you they're 50 feet, but it doesn't mean that they're 50 feet from bulb from the start to the bulb at the end. The wire's 50 feet, and that's something to know because when you're setting up your poles to hold these string lights, and you're setting up to hold 50 feet, you could have 1 feet up to 6 feet as just wire, no bulbs. So technically, let's say the string that I've purchased says 50 feet, but 5 feet of that is just wire. So really the bulbs are 45 feet, not 50 feet, in the sense of what's being lit. I also looked for bulbs that were approximately every 12 inches on the line, so there'll be plenty of lights, because sometimes it'll say 25 feet and it'll only have 12 bulbs. So it's like every, what, 2 feet or so. So those are some of the things that I looked for when I was shopping around. This line cost me a little over $60 in total. For supplies on the poles here, each pole was $4 and I think 10 cents, compared to the wood pole that I was really eyeing was $12.50. So just the wood poles alone, getting 6 of those would have been $75. Well, here, just do the math. 4 times 6, 24 bucks. I got my 4 poles. With the screws that I put on the top, plus the caps, was another $10. The most expensive thing on this whole project was buying the drill bit to drill those holes. That was, I showed you earlier, was $35. So overall, yeah, the investment will be, if you have to buy the drill bit, the investment will be a little over $100. But I think it'll come out pretty nice. So what I'm going to do next is, and I won't record it, but what I'm going to do next is I have to install all these bulbs, as you can see. So we're going to put that together, and I'm going to hang the lights up, and that'll be the next shot. And there we go. Lights installed. So there's a 100-foot line. One thing I like about these that I was not aware of, I mentioned earlier, when they give you the length, I was saying from the bulb, first bulb to the plug, you can see from 12 inches to up to 6 feet in length. So the line of lights really are not, say, 50 feet. But what's cool about this is the length from here to the bulb is 12 inches. From here to the next bulb is 12 inches. This is where the 2 lines connect. Well, between each bulb is 2 feet, so it keeps the bulbs consistent in their line where the plug is done. So I kind of like that. I use electrical tape to go around that. I don't know if you can see this, but I use electrical tape to go around that to hold it so it won't pull apart. And I had enough bulbs to run across the fire pit, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then when I mentioned about the stumps, by putting a pole in the back, it leaves you a shelf where you can put plants on here, which I did. I just grabbed a bunch of potted plants I have in my house to give you an idea. Little decoration. And you could also sit on the bottom of those poles, but I wouldn't really advocate for anyone to sit there, because that's gonna shake the pole like crazy, because it doesn't take much movement from the base to the pole, through the top, to really shake it around. So, this is Big Guy DIY, signing out. I hope that gave you an idea how to build one of these. So total cost, minus the drill bit, let me think about this, 60, I forgot what I was going to say, around $90, about $90 for the whole thing. And I like it. Now it's all set up for me to enjoy, as well as for my kids to enjoy. And we have a little graduation party for one of my sons graduating high school. So this is it. Big Guy signing off. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. Any comments, leave them down below, and I will reply as best as I can. Thank you. Have a good one.